When you truly understand what you value and where you're headed, it becomes easier to ignore the distractions and focus on what really matters. Often, we search for answers, but the truth is, it's the right questions that guide us the most. A well-timed question can shift the entire course of your life. So today, I want to share 15 powerful questions drawn from Stoic wisdom and other great thinkers that I reflect on often. These aren't just questions for self-improvement, but tools that can help you navigate your path, no matter who you are or where you are in life. Each of these questions holds the potential to change the way you see yourself and your journey, so take your time with each one. They all have the power to transform your perspective. Lesson 1. Who are you spending time with? The philosopher Goethe once said, "Show me who you spend time with, and I will tell you who you are." Likewise, Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, emphasized surrounding ourselves with people who make us better. My own father used to tell me as a kid, "You become like your friends." So, here's the key question. Are the people you spend time with helping you get closer to your goals, or are they holding you back? It's an important question, and the answer may require some difficult choices. You might need to reduce the time you spend with certain people, even those who have been part of your life for a long time. Now, let's take a step back and reflect. Think about the people you hang out with after work, the authors you read, the conversations you have. Every person in your life has an influence. They will either elevate you, drag you down, or keep you exactly where you are. And sometimes, staying in the same place can be worse than falling behind. Lesson 2. If I am not for me, who is? If I am only for me, who am I? This timeless principle is all about balance between self-reliance and selflessness. It asks two fundamental questions. Who will stand up for me if I don't stand up for myself? And what kind of person am I if I only care about myself? This lesson ties directly to the question of motivation. What drives you, personal success, or a deeper purpose? Of course, you have to fight for yourself. If you don't, you risk being overlooked, undervalued, or even mistreated. But if your focus is solely on yourself, on protecting your image or seeking attention, you lose something essential. You lose connection to others, to a higher cause, and even to who you truly are. Think about the life of George Marshall. He achieved great things, yet his greatest act was arguably what he chose not to do. Marshall famously turned down the command of Allied forces in the Normandy invasion during World War II. Why? Because for him, it wasn't about personal glory. He didn't want his feelings or ambitions to interfere with what was best for the mission. Marshall understood a vital lesson. It's not about ego, it's about purpose. It's about the bigger picture. His decision was an example of asking, am I doing this to serve myself or to serve something greater? And in choosing the greater good, he reinforced his own legacy, though that was never his goal. A powerful quote captures this idea. If you play for the name on the front of the jersey, they'll remember the name on the back. It reminds us that when we commit to something bigger than ourselves, our true identity and impact are revealed. So ask yourself, what are you fighting for? Is it just to elevate yourself, or is it to contribute to something larger, something that lasts? Balancing these two sides, standing up for yourself and lifting up others, is key to finding real fulfillment and purpose. Lesson 3. What am I missing by choosing to worry or be afraid? Gavin de Becker once said, "When you worry, ask yourself, what am I choosing not to see right now?" That question is powerful because it reminds us of something important. Our attention is a limited resource. We only have so much mental focus, time, and emotional energy. So, how are you choosing to use it? When we let worry, fear, or anxiety take over, we're not just feeling unpleasant emotions. We're losing sight of what really matters. These emotions can act like blinders, narrowing our vision and causing us to overlook opportunities, solutions, and the bigger picture. Think about it. Life throws challenges our way constantly. But every time we respond to those challenges by worrying or taking things too personally, we're essentially taking our eye off the ball. Instead of seeing a challenge as an opportunity to grow, we let fear dictate our actions, which usually makes the situation worse. Let's take a moment to shift perspective. What if, instead of letting those emotions control us, we recognize them as signals that we might need to pause, breathe, and refocus? Emotions are natural, but acting impulsively on them can be destructive. They cloud our judgment and rob us of the clarity we need to move forward. By worrying, we are often choosing to miss the broader perspective. We might be missing chances for growth, problem solving, or even peace. So next time you find yourself anxious or afraid, ask yourself, what am I not seeing right now? What's the bigger picture that my emotions are blocking out? This simple shift in mindset can help you break free from the cycle of fear and worry and open yourself up to clearer, more purposeful thinking. Lesson 4. Are you fulfilling your role? Everyone has a role to play at every moment, whether it's something small like helping someone out or something big like leading a team. We all have a job to do. But do you know what your role is, both in your life and in the groups you're part of? And more importantly, are you fulfilling that role? It's easy to get distracted by what other people are doing or not doing. We often find ourselves focusing on others because it's simpler to critique or analyze someone else than to face our own tasks. But the truth is, your biggest responsibility is to focus on your own job. This is where the question comes in. Are you doing your job? When you stop and reflect, you might realize you're not fully engaged in your role. If that's the case, ask yourself, why not? Are you distracted, unsure of what your responsibility is, or simply avoiding it? Identifying the reasons is the first step to correcting course. On the other hand, if you're doing your job, fantastic, keep it up. Acknowledge the progress you're making and stay committed to your role. At the end of the day, the key is to shift the focus inward. Because when everyone takes care of their role, things fall into place more smoothly. The more each of us commits to our responsibilities, the stronger we become individually and collectively. Lesson 5. What is the most important thing? Have you ever asked yourself, what's the most important thing in my life? What do you truly value above all else? If you don't know the answer to these questions, how can you be sure that you're focusing on what really matters? Understanding what's most important to you is the foundation for everything else. Without it, you risk spending your time and energy on things that ultimately don't fulfill you. Consider this. Imagine being offered a huge promotion at work, one that would double your salary but require you to constantly travel and be away from home. It sounds tempting, right? But at what cost? For me, if that meant losing precious time with my family or sacrificing the relationships I hold dear, I'd turn it down without hesitation. Why? Because I know what's most important to me, maintaining a sense of balance and nurturing the connections that matter most in my personal life. Yes, career success is important, but it doesn't come before the people I love. The Stoic philosopher Seneca introduces a powerful concept called euthymia, which means knowing the path you're on and avoiding distractions from the paths of others. Many people around us are wandering aimlessly, unsure of what truly matters to them. When you know what's important, what you value most, it becomes far easier to ignore what doesn't matter and focus your energy on what does. In today's world, We are constantly bombarded with choices, distractions, and the priorities of others. But if you've taken the time to ask and answer the question, what is the most important thing to me? Then those distractions lose their power over you. You're free to pursue your own path with clarity and purpose. So ask yourself, what is the most important thing in your life? Once you know the answer, everything else will start to fall into place. Lesson 6. Will this be a live time or dead time? Imagine you're stuck in traffic and there's no way to get out of it. Most people would just sit there frustrated, wasting time, scrolling through their phones or zoning out. But what if instead you saw this as an opportunity? What if you treated that hour in traffic as a chance to learn, reflect, or even plan your next steps? You could listen to an audiobook that inspires you, brainstorm ideas for a project you've been putting off, or use the quiet to think deeply about your goals. The traffic isn't going anywhere, but how you spend that time is completely up to you. That's the essence of a live time. It's about turning every seemingly idle moment into something valuable. The time is passing either way, but how will you use it? Will you just let it slip by, or will you make it work for you? This question came to me again when I hit a personal setback. I had some free time I didn't expect, and I could have easily wasted it. But I remembered the idea of a live time. How can I use this unexpected gap? Instead of waiting for things to get back to normal, I chose to make it a period of growth and learning. A live time is when you treat every moment, no matter how mundane, as an opportunity. Because once it's gone, it's dead time. It's time you'll never get back. But if you choose to make the most of it, you're always growing, always moving forward, no matter the situation. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, said it best. It's not that life is short, it's that we waste a lot of it. We often let precious moments slip away, distracted or passive, instead of asking ourselves how we can make them count. Lesson 7. What legacy am I building? While many people focus on achieving personal success, the question of legacy is often overlooked. Legacy isn't just about fame or wealth. It's about the lasting impact we leave behind in the lives of others. Consider this. What do you want to be remembered for? Not just in your career, but in your relationships, community, and personal growth. Legacy can be as simple as how you treat the people around you, the values you instill in others, or the example you set. The key question to ask here is, am I living in a way that aligns with the legacy I want to leave behind? Reflecting on this regularly can provide clarity on the choices you make today and help ensure that your long-term impact is consistent with your values and goals. A practical example would be to think of a mentor or family member whose legacy shaped your life. What made their impact so lasting, and how can you apply that to your own life? Lesson 8. Am I using time wisely? Time is a resource we can never get back, and yet we often treat it as if we have an infinite supply. Many of us spend hours on distractions or in pursuits that don't align with our deepest values or goals. The ancient philosopher Aristotle spoke about eudaimonia, or living a flourishing life, which is achieved through meaningful action and the wise use of time. Ask yourself, am I investing my time in ways that reflect my priorities? This question challenges you to assess how you allocate your time and whether it aligns with what you value most. It's not just about productivity, it's about meaningful use of your days. Try to create a time audit for a typical day. Compare where your time actually goes versus where you wish it would go. Are there areas where you can realign your time with your priorities? These lessons shift the focus from personal improvement through daily questioning to long-term thinking about legacy and time, giving your audience new tools for reflection and action. Lesson 9. Who are you creating for? I see so many creators, whether they're writers, artists, or even hobbyists, who are filled with inspiration but are missing one crucial step: truly understanding who their work is for. They invest time and effort into crafting a story, a painting, or a project, hoping that someone will connect with it. You might hear them say things like, "This novel is for anyone who loves adventure," or "This piece is for people who appreciate beauty." But the reality is, you can't just create for everyone. You need to know exactly who you're speaking to. It's not enough to say your work is for everyone. Without a clear target, you're shooting in the dark, hoping to hit something by chance. So, how do you get specific? You start by asking the right questions. Who is this for? Who are these people? Where are they? What do they need, want, or aspire to? The more precise your answers, the more likely you are to connect with your audience. And here's the key: empathy. It's about putting yourself in their shoes. If you don't take the time to really understand the people you're creating for, how can you expect to make something meaningful to them? Here's what I do whenever I start a new project, whether it's a video, a book, or even a tweet. I pause and I ask myself, who is this really for? Not just in a general sense, but down to the specifics. Who are they? What drives them? And how can I serve their needs? Forget about assumptions or hunches. Dig deeper, and you'll not only create with purpose, but also with impact. Lesson 10. To be or to do. This key question originates from the legendary strategist John Boyd. Boyd spent years mentoring young professionals at the Pentagon, and he often posed this crucial challenge: which path will you choose in life? There are two distinct paths you can take. On one path, you focus on appearing important, chasing titles, recognition, and public approval. This is the road of prestige, where your goal is to stand out, be seen, and be acknowledged by others. On the other path, you focus on getting things done, quietly, without needing the spotlight. This path is less about applause and more about making a real, lasting impact. You might not always get the credit, but your work speaks for itself. A great example comes from Harry S. Truman, who once said, "It's amazing what you can accomplish if you don't care who gets the credit." This captures the essence of the question: do you care more about getting recognition or about making a difference? Think about this carefully. To be or to do. Are you focused on seeming important, or are you focused on doing important work? Are you building a life around external validation, or are you driven by the results of your efforts? The answer to this question shapes how you live and measure your success. A practical example would be to imagine you're working on a project at your job. You have two choices. You can either make sure everyone knows how much you contributed, positioning yourself for a promotion, or you can focus on doing the best work possible, even if it means someone else might take the spotlight. Which choice leads to more long-term success and fulfillment? As you move forward, ask yourself regularly, am I trying to be somebody, or am I trying to do something? The difference is subtle but profound. One path is about you. The other is about the work itself and its impact on others. Choose the path that leads to lasting value, not just for you, but for the world around you. Lesson 11. Designing your ideal day. The philosopher Seneca once said that life is made up of days. In a similar vein, the writer Annie Dillard reminds us, how we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives. This leads us to a key question. What does your ideal day look like? And more importantly, are you designing your life to align with it? If you're unclear about what a fulfilling day looks like for you, it's easy to get swept into the pursuit of things like money, fame, or influence. While there's nothing wrong with ambition, You need to pause and ask yourself, is this getting me closer to the life I truly want, or is it pulling me further away? To get a clear picture, let's think about this practically. What activities make you feel energized, fulfilled, and connected? What routines bring out the best in you? These are the building blocks of your ideal day. Without clarity, you risk drifting into a life that's designed by default, not by intention. For example, I know exactly what my ideal day looks like. It's a Saturday morning where I wake up early, exercise, write, and then spend meaningful time with my family. I avoid unnecessary distractions, no pointless meetings or phone calls. I make sure to get outside and feel grounded, connected to the present moment. That's my vision, but what about yours? Whenever new opportunities come up, whether it's a project, an invitation, or an obligation, ask yourself, does this move me closer to the life I envision, or does it take me further away from it? By aligning your daily actions with your long-term vision, you gain control over your life's direction. Remember, life isn't a grand plan that unfolds overnight. It's the result of how you choose to live each day. Lesson 12. Is this within my control? There's a question that the Stoic philosopher Epictetus called the key to a better life. Is this within my control? He believed that this simple distinction between what we can control and what we can't is the foundation for living wisely. Think about how much time and energy we spend worrying about things that are out of our hands. Maybe it's the weather, other people's opinions, or even traffic. These are things we have no control over, but we let them impact our mood and focus. Let's take an easy example. When it rains. You can't stop the rain, it's out of your control. But what is in your control is how you respond to it. You can let it ruin your day, or you can adapt, maybe bring an umbrella, or enjoy the sound of the rain. This is what the Stoics taught, to stop stressing over things that aren't up to us and to focus on what is. So, whenever we're facing a situation or feeling stressed, we should pause and ask, is this within my control? If it's something beyond your control, like the weather or someone else's opinion, recognize that it's not worth wasting your energy on. But if it's something you can control, your thoughts, actions, and attitudes, then that's where your focus should go. By practicing this, we save ourselves from frustration and avoid spending energy trying to move immovable walls. Instead, we put our efforts into the areas of life where we have real power to make a difference. So, the next time you face a challenge, remember this. Ask yourself, is this up to me? Lesson 13. Does this actually matter? We often get upset, distracted, or weighed down by things that, in the grand scheme, don't truly matter. Not to us, not to anyone. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher, posed a powerful question we should ask ourselves in every moment. Is this essential? He reminds us that most of what we do, say, and think is not essential, and when we let go of the non-essential, we get a double reward. We free up time and energy to focus on what really matters, and in turn, do those things better. A profound example comes from the life of Stephen Colbert. As a young man, he suffered a devastating loss. His father and several siblings died in a plane crash. In the wake of this tragedy, his mother asked him a simple but profound question. Can you look at this in the light of eternity? In other words, will this matter in the bigger picture? When faced with crisis or tragedy, our perspective sharpens. We see that so many of the things we worry about, the things that consume our energy and attention, aren't important at all. So, what does matter? People matter. Your loved ones matter. The effort you put into being your best self matters. Everything else? It's just noise, distractions pulling you away from what's truly important. Yet, ironically, that's where most of us pour our time and energy, into the things that don't ultimately count. So, as you go about your day, remember to ask yourself, does this actually matter? When you start focusing on the things that do, you'll find greater clarity, more peace, and deeper meaning in your life. Lesson 14. Is this who I want to be? Every action we take is a step toward becoming the person we see ourselves as. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself, is this action in line with the person I want to become? Or am I giving in to my lower self? Am I looking for shortcuts, doing things that the best version of myself wouldn't do? Author Cheryl Strayed once said, "You're becoming who you're going to be, so you might as well not be an idiot." It's a blunt but powerful reminder. Every decision shapes our future selves. So before you act, ask yourself, is this consistent with my character? Does it reflect my priorities, my values, and what I've said is important to me? If the answer is no, then it's worth reconsidering. This isn't just about grand gestures or life-altering decisions. It's about the small, everyday actions. How we do anything is how we do everything. Each interaction, each choice, whether big or small, carries the weight of shaping who we become. So, in every situation, ask yourself, is this who I want to be? Because ultimately, our habits and choices accumulate. They shape our character and determine our legacy in ways we might not always notice in the moment. Lesson 15. What's the meaning of life? Let's dive into one of the biggest questions humanity has ever faced. What is the meaning of life? It's a question that philosophers, thinkers, and everyday people have pondered for ages. But instead of searching for a hidden answer, what if we shift our perspective and ask, how do we create meaning in life through our actions? Imagine a teacher standing in front of a class of students. Every day they face the choice to either go through the motions of the lesson plan or to engage deeply with their students, to inspire them, and to invest in their growth. The act of teaching itself doesn't hold some universal meaning. It's the care, effort, and passion the teacher pours into their work that gives it value and significance. The meaning is created through how they choose to interact with their students, or take someone training for a marathon. The daily grind of running, sweating, and pushing through the pain doesn't inherently hold meaning, but the discipline, the perseverance, and the decision to push beyond their limits, these are the elements that shape their journey. The meaning of their effort comes not from the finish line itself, but from the countless decisions to keep going when quitting would be easier. Life presents all of us with moments like these, choices that define who we are and what we stand for. When you face a difficult situation, when you're making decisions that shape your path, life is not giving you answers. Instead, it's presenting you with opportunities to create meaning. How you respond, the choices you make, and the values you uphold are what give your life depth and purpose. So instead of asking, what is the meaning of life? Perhaps we should be asking, how will I create meaning through my actions? The answer isn't hidden out there, waiting to be found. It's something you shape every day through the way you choose to live. So, there you have it. 15 powerful questions that can shift your perspective and help you live with more purpose. I hope these questions inspire you to take action and reflect on what truly matters in your life. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who could use a little extra guidance on their journey. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.